Okay, back with the history of the global system. We start with John Locke and social contract theory, this idea that society is formed um, consciously by autonomous individuals, people who meet on that primordial plane and say, yes, I want to have society with you, and you want to have society with me. This is nonsense, of course. But where did that come from? Where did that idea of original social isolation come from? It came from commodity capitalism. So, distribution is how capitalism used to be focused on, was distribution with arbitrage, buying low in one place, selling high in another place. However, Marx, who we're following here, focused on production. So this is important. This will come back. Remember the illustration from the lecture with the workers and the raw materials and the factory with the owner at the top, and the product coming out the bottom. We had a little chart. It's somewhere back in the videos. You have to know that for the exam. Okay, it's important. In any case, the raw materials, the commodities, the moment of power is when those commodities are up for sale by the workers who are now consumers. Once you get that upper hand, and you can either buy or not buy, that is your moment of power. You remember that's why there was a big figure 8, because the money has to circulate through the system in order for it to be a capitalist system. So that's important. That is the origin of the alienation that is felt by these workers who are separated from one another by because they're all just working for the same boss, renting from the same landlord, buying at the same shop. So they're all of their relationships are mediated through money. Um, and those are material relations between people. And in contrast, the actual objects, as they're going around the world, traveling around the world, and meeting other objects and being transformed and changed, we have social relations between objects. Okay? So that's the illustration of that. West chapter 6, lesson 6, global social structure, reality as a cultural construction. We had love in 4 cultures. Remember Papua New Guinea, Kenya, India, and Scotland. Papua New Guinea was this gift economy and bride wealth. Kenya had marriage without love. Marriage is an economic decision. We had the girl who wanted to go to school, and her father says, "Okay, you take care of her then, because I've tried to do my best, and it's not going to happen." Polygyny as a norm for human society. That is one man with multiple wives. Polyandry has to do with land shortage. It's usually the case in Nepal and other mountainous regions with less land, where a single woman will marry several brothers. And they'll all be all the children will be having all the dads. Um, India had it was India. India was the arranged marriage. Love is permanent intoxication. Marriage is too important to risk on a love relationship. It has to be on an economic relationship or a reasonable arranged marriage. It's not forced. Remember, it's not a forced marriage. Um, not necessarily. I mean, it could be forced, but just because it's arranged doesn't mean it's forced. Extended family say in marriage. That's important. That's important right there. That forced marriage and arranged marriage are not necessarily the same thing. Okay. Um, then we have Scotland, where we have the love marriage. We have non-procreative marriage. We have freedom and competition with anomie. Remember Durkheim and his mechanical solidarity versus organic solidarity. Remember the video I showed where organic solidarity, instead of talking about small-scale societies, organic has to do with large-scale societies, because we're all highly specialized workers and we're packed into this community and we're forced to be here because of our job description and our reliance on one another. We can't even change our oil anymore in our own cars or spark plugs. They don't even have spark plugs anymore. Whereas mechanical solidarity has to do with small scale societies, rural societies. Mechanical means it breaks apart very easily. There's no highly specialized training. Everyone knows how to farm. Everyone does the farming. So mechanical solidarity is these bands, tribes, and chiefdoms, small scale rural societies. The extended family is a source of intimacy. So when we have industrialism, and the demise of the extended family, you're no longer living with your grandparents and your cousins, then marriage becomes the source of both the passion and the security. So passion is permanent intoxication. This is when people are in love, but security is necessary for intimacy. You have to be able to turn your back on people, right? You have to trust them, that they're not going to stab you in the back while your back is turned. So that security does not go along with passion, because passion, romantic love, is based on this sort of daring, will he, won't he, sort of back and forth. It's a very scary thing, whereas security is necessary overall for intimacy, because you can trust people with your secrets. So romantic love is connected to dopamine. Companionate love is connected to oxytocin. Let's see what those what our social structure had. These are two different chemicals in the brain. So dopamine, intense passion and desire. Oxytocin, calm and a sense of security. So these are the two different chemicals that we're going for when we have romantic, passionate romances versus when we have companionate love. Passion thrives on insecurity, but love is a decision to commit. And this is maybe one of the problems that we have in modern society, is that we don't have enough safe relationships with trusted people, and it all comes to reside in the other, the spouse. Becoming ourselves, social construction. Objective conditions are not equivalent with social roles. People who cannot see aren't automatically blind people. They become socialized into the social role of blind person, which has a very unique contour. It has very unique contours in America. Blind people are expected to be docile, dependent, melancholy, and helpless. But if you're just a person who can't see, you don't necessarily have those things. It takes a long time to develop that dependency and docility. 3 processes of socialization. We have beliefs and expectations, thinking, behaviors and interactions, things we do, and then structures and institutions, the bigger social structures that get built up to reinforce those actions that are based on the thoughts. Okay, so those are we're going to come back to this process of social construction. Gender advertising, market segmentation in toys. Why is gender reinforced? Well, gender starts out as a belief that boys and girls are different, and then it's actions where we treat boys and girls different ways, and eventually that gets reinforced by schools, by hospitals, by stores, by restaurants, all the way up and down the line. These are institutionalized, even though they are not natural at all. Men are not naturally better at women than science, in math and science. In fact, in many countries outside of the West and Japan, women are the majority of STEM majors. I remember that chart from the notes. It's only in the specific Western European locations that there's an idea been developed through probably the influence of Western education, Western dominated education, or whatever sort of just ordinary patriarchy that we have in our societies, that end up making women feel really uncomfortable in certain very fraught positions, right? It's a lot riding on science and a lot riding on mathematics, and so if we can make people feel uncomfortable for whatever reason, then they'll leave, and then that'll leave more for us if we are men and already running the place. So these gender stereotypes are not universal. We want to talk about sex gender. We want to limit the binary between sex being biological and gender being cultural. Instead, we're going to talk about sex gender as being a composite of 6 components. We're departing from the textbook here. That's fine. So when we talk about gender roles, gender display, gender personality, gender identity, sexual preference, and body, those 6 things are here. So gender roles very quickly. Let's see, gender roles. Come on. Sex, gender roles, stereotypical behaviors. Gender display, presentation in terms of clothing, speech, and hairstyle. Gender personality, emotional, cognitive, and other traits, communication styles. Gender identity, how a person identifies who they identify with or how they identify as. Sexual preference, this is for sexual intercourse with men, with women, with both, with neither. And then body, the chromosomes, gonads, genitals, hormones, secondary sexual characteristics, etc. Okay? So those are the 6 composite constituents of sex/gender. Okay, we're up to multiple genders in 12 minutes. I'm going to pause here and come back with multiple genders when we come back.